Om Shanti. Welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi. We just have a little technical issue here, which we're fixing. So a few more minutes in silence. Shanti, good evening, and once again, welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi. Our topic today is experiencing greatness in ordinariness. And before we begin, we'll just have a brief reflection together. With just one thought, I come inside. I become the observer of my inner world, especially my mind. That capacity I have to create thoughts. Today I created thousands of thoughts, just as I do every day. And of those thousands of thoughts, what was the quality? How many were completely necessary? How many were repetitive? How many were habitual, just out of habit? How many were ordinary? And how many thoughts were sacred, very elevated, extraordinary? Thoughts are the seed of quality of life. How I think determines how I feel, as well as shapes my actions. Even in this brief moment now, what are the quality of my thoughts? What types of seeds am I planting in this moment? Om Shanti.
For those who have just joined with us, topic this evening is experience greatness and ordinariness. And the commentary already brought up some questions that have come up in perhaps maybe previous sessions, not interview Raj Yogi, but I remember being in this session where we were talking about thoughts and awareness, and she was grappling with which comes first, especially with the commentary about checking, what are the quality of my thoughts, because then it leads to, oh, my thoughts aren't so great. Do I just focus on just changing my thoughts? Is that all there is?
Definitely in terms of Raj Yoga and being efficient, thoughts would be the window or the indicator of where my awareness is. And so yes, if I wanted to change the quality of thoughts efficiently, not thought by thought, but just the general quality of my inner world, I would want to look at my awareness.
But is there, what fosters awareness, I think, is where that soul is coming from.
I think that we probably have to be proactive. You know, I know today you were asking about physical alignment, and sometimes it's quite fun, you know, in a fitness class, we might start by saying, you know, turn your core on, which is a very strange thing to say, I feel increasingly, because it should be on all the time. So we really, rather than waiting for these special moments to kind of activate awareness, in the study of Raj Yoga, we actually have a very intentional discipline of working on awareness. It's not sort of hit and miss, but we actually dedicate time to working on specifically spiritual awareness, the awareness I am a soul and I have spiritual capacities. So we're quite proactive and intentional, so that then hopefully naturally my attitudes and thoughts would start to change as well. So if my thoughts are of a certain quality, then that's probably a sign that I need to work on my awareness, and I need to be quite intentional about that.
Do you feel that that's what makes Raja Yoga unique? Like focusing on awareness, or is it that even more specific, the kind of awareness?
I enjoy Raj Yoga because in general it focuses on the seed. And I think that's a brilliant approach. It focuses on the solutions. And yes, it gives us, awareness, even though it's the most basic part of our existence. Who am I? It seems challenging for us to be able to focus on it. So there's a lot of support in exactly how to do that. How do I experience myself as a spiritual being? So it gives a lot of support, because there really is no way to go past that, to access all the benefits of spirituality without being in a spiritual state, including those sacred thoughts. That's a product of being in a spiritual state.
So then it links to the topic for this evening. Experience greatness in ordinariness. Because it now just seems like, maybe I shouldn't just try to have great thoughts about myself, but I need to back things up a bit more.
What I like about the topic is it suggesting there's maybe quantity and quality, or inside and outside, that on the surface, things can look ordinary. But if I'm able to get to the sea, to go under the surface, things can be quite extraordinary. So, see someone walking down the street, and sometimes where I am, people come in and they look whatever, and we often judge a book by its cover. And I remember being in a class, and in a fitness class, it's a great equalizer. It was a corporate setting, and when they came in, they're all dressed the same, they look the same. I have no idea who's who in terms of position in the company. And it was really lovely, because for me, the greatness I experienced wasn't in their title. I would learn later, okay, that was the CEO, or that was, but what I experienced as their greatness was in their character, how they treated one another. And in that sense, they were all actually quite great. So there's position, status, appearance, all these things are quite surface. But we want to look a little bit deeper and see the greatness, the value under the surface. This, of course, is where spirituality excels, is the invisible.
A good point that you bring up this example, that there is, the surface things and there is the deeper things. So when it comes to just assessing oneself and they're attempting, let's use this example of trying to experience greatness, is it possible to know when I'm actually authentically feeling that? Or do you have to wait until something happens beforehand? Could I sense that if I'm actually really moving into an awareness that really is supporting, a real sense of greatness of the self?
We have these wonderful stories from the history of this organization, Brahma Kumaris, and literally for the first 14 years, they were pretty secluded. There was really no one knew who they are. People still actually don't know what this organization is, but very secluded. But they were having a very elevated awareness of themselves without any external feedback. They were so isolated. And so what we realize is that there is an immediate experience of greatness. We use the term intoxication, but it's a realization, and it's actually accessible for all of us if we take the time to let the penny drop. So, for example, what spirituality says is you are life itself. There is the body and there is you. You are, without you in that body, the body falls down and no longer works. So you are life. Now, as we go through the day, we probably don't have that thought at all. We're thinking about this little detail, what that person said. There is this profound truth about ourselves. I am life. Like, this is remarkable. It's a wonder. And if I sit and give myself the time to really let the significance of the realities about the self sink in, then I too will have this instant experience of what we call that intoxication, the greatness of the self. And it's not arrogance, it's realizing the truth about the self, taking that time to let the penny drop.
And when you share that it's not arrogance, it seems like there would be implications if it was arrogance.
Yes, it would be, as we call it, conditional. So we say that true greatness is stable in the praise of, praise, or in the face of praise or defamation, compliment or insult. It's unaffected by either of those. And sometimes, we say, oh, yes, if someone insults me, I'm okay. But quite frankly, it's the positive ones that are really quite subtle in terms of their effect. We kind of take in when someone compliments or praises us. We think we're impervious, but we actually let it affect us. So our greatness needs to be independent of anything external.
It seems like that's a tricky one, because it's not about rejecting what someone else is complimenting, but that you're just not affected.
Yeah, and one of the words that I really like, which sounds very similar to greatness, is gracious. And souls that are gracious are this way. They're respectful of others, both scenarios, respectful, but they are not affected. It doesn't shape the value of the self. So they respect, they appreciate, but it's, as we say, it doesn't really go into the heart. There's already so much value in the heart that I'm not needy for that. Because then we start to get into conditions and preferences and all of these kinds of things. So being very gracious in the face of both insult or praise, but stable.
Now, we may need to explore a little bit more in terms of greatness and ordinariness, because I think many just feel ordinariness is normal.
Raj Yoga teaches us that most of our behavior is actually abnormal. Most of what we consider normal is in fact not normal. That we have lost normal along the way. To have very elevated sense of self-respect, that's normal. So we do have ordinary in the sense that, what it teaches us is our sense of self and our quality of life is based on things that are temporary. That's really where ordinariness begins, versus our sense of self, quality of life being based on what is eternal. We always say a diamond is forever. Things that are of great value are eternal, truth being top of the list. So when I'm basing my sense of self on these very great things, the eternal or timeless aspects of the self, and this is greatness. It's not a show. It's none of these things. It's just this sense of self being based on what is timeless. It's a very valuable, pure, elevated experience of the self.
Perhaps you could clarify a bit more in terms of what eternal means, timeless. And the reason why I share that, I realize that sometimes, at least, we can take for granted things that we've been experiencing in the study for quite some time. And I was with a coworker, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but essenceful. Yeah, she's like, I don't even know what that means. And it made me realize, it's sometimes it might just be a big gap for souls. Eternal might be actually another one.
So that which is basically invisible, not physical, so we call it spiritual, that is timeless or eternal or imperishable. And that's the stuff we want to experience. So as an example, within each of us, people are scrambling around the world, sometimes dying, trying to secure these different resources in the world: oil, gold, diamonds, all of these different things, physical things. But actually, the most valuable resources, the most sought after resources in the world reside within the human spirit, the human soul. So we always talk about the greatness of the human spirit, or these moments of greatness. And I know that's where this is happening, being transmitted. The Olympics are happening right now, and we love everyone is so inspired by the Olympics because we get glimpses of the greatness. This is the whole intention of the Olympics, is to get a chance to witness the greatness of the human spirit, these incredible feats based on spiritual will. And so we love it, and we get glimpses, and we think these are moments of greatness. Actually, those capacities are always inside of us. Peace, compassion, strength, all of these are always inside us, this greatness within us, but it's hidden because we're focused so much on the ordinary, the temporary stuff, right? So it's like buried underground, like resources often are found underground. And so all of this stuff is in there. So spirituality is teaching us to unlock through awareness, unlock or reconnect or emerge those most sought after resources inside the greatness of the human spirit. We are very moved when we see it in others with incredible depth for forgiveness, compassion. And the interesting thing is we all have these capacities. And you might argue with me when I say all. Yes, we all have these capacities, but it can be under layers of wrong awareness or challenging experiences, lots of layers that accumulate on the soul and locked up the heart, locked up these resources. So spirituality is about unlocking the greatness of the human spirit.
So it does feel like it's, again, back to this: what is my awareness of myself? What am I capable of? I don't really know if I can convey this clearly, but I was actually reading the Story of Immortality. So some may know of this, some may not, but it is basically a beautiful way that's told in a story-like form of the Raja Yoga course. And I was just reading the beginning part about what is our inherent self, which is knowledge that there exists an understanding of ourself that is hidden away now. There's power, capacity. And the third one is divine virtue, so it's quality of self. How does understanding, realizing that I'm a soul, then enable me to actually naturally have love, naturally have peace, versus it just then becomes very intellectual?
There's something I always found interesting in, this is an example, but I'm sure everyone has their own personal experience with this, but in dance, I always found it interesting. What makes someone a dancer? We always felt it was these sort of interesting kind of, I don't know, things in the body or something, I don't know. But it's actually awareness. I have this awareness, I am a dancer. It's amazing what I can do with the body, whatever it looks like, however, if I have that awareness. It's always been quite fascinating to me. And I remember one scene, it was two dancers. It was a dance competition, so perhaps not a very elevated example, but these two dancers, one looked like your typical dancer, legs that went up to their ears, and, and all of this. It's very interesting. The other one looked like a linebacker. And when they walked onto the stage, if you're going by the ordinary, by the surface, you would think, oh, well, that one's going to win. That one looks like a dancer. But so they walked on. And then, of course, the music started, and they were going one after the other, not at the same time. So you saw the first one, the one that looks like a dancer, and she did her routine, and it was very nice. And then the linebacker, it was like a linebacker came on, and it sort of fascinated me. They kind of walk on, and they don't seem to have any of the accoutrements of dance, the turnout, the long legs, the pointy, none of it. And so then the music started. What they did have is the awareness, I am a dancer. So the music started, and there was literally a physical transformation from a linebacker into this very graceful, and by the way, the second one was the one that won the competition, very great. The linebacker. And then the music ended, they turned back into a linebacker and walked off. And the power of awareness is phenomenal. Someone has the awareness they're a mother. And I see this all the time. You probably have. They're walking down the street, holding one child, the other one's dragging. They've got 3 bags of grocery. I don't think any of us could really do that for a long period of time.
Unless you accepted that.
They've got the awareness, I am a mother. Awareness is king. It has remarkable power, which is both a curse and a blessing. The awareness that I am a soul is extremely powerful as well, because it's an awareness, and it is the thing to unlock what we call the greatness of spiritual capacities within.
I do feel that tonight's session reminds me of a session we had a few weeks ago about, I don't remember the exact title, but if there's respect for yourself, you just naturally bring the respect for others. And it's interesting because, just a side note, that when you have self-respect, you actually, it doesn't really matter to you if you get respect from others. So it's quite fascinating. The reason I was thinking about that in terms of what you were sharing, and my question about if I really had, a true awareness of who I really am, and my question was, would there be natural peace and love? And when you were just conveying what you were talking about in terms of the dancer who looks like a linebacker and her awareness of being a dancer, I was feeling this previous topic, which had again to do with this aspect of pure versus positive. In terms of when I really feel that I'm a soul, it feels like these natural capacities within me emerge, but I'm not emerging them for someone or for something. So then there really is, and when you emerge certain things for something, for someone, it seems like there will always be a seeking of some sort of outcome.
Yeah, it's very contextual. It's interesting if you talk to someone who has the awareness, the feeling about themselves that they're shy. They will say, I am a shy person. This is their awareness of themselves. They don't have to make effort to be shy. They just seem to be it wherever they go, because this is their awareness of themselves. So when it comes to awareness, it makes things very natural, and it's not according to the context or situation. It's what we call from the inside out. It's not reactive to things outside. So this is, again, why it is incredibly powerful. So if that awareness becomes natural, I'm a soul. The deepest quality of the soul, the self, is peace. So when I'm in that awareness naturally, there's going to be peace all the time. It's just such a natural, what we call response. So I'm not reacting anymore. I just respond from the inside out. I'm just peaceful in whatever context you put me in.
In terms of, then, when you were talking about eternal awareness, would you say there's a connection between eternal, unconditional in that sense, that then that peace that you feel is not conditional?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, I was thinking about the word absolute, and I think that's probably a word that maybe some really grasp. But when you were sharing about it's not about love and understanding or trying to convey a certain gesture that's, again, trying to prove something. And perhaps maybe it's not that apparent for individuals that they're trying to prove something. It's not, but everyone wants to be good. Everyone wants to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. But perhaps maybe it's quite subtle that it's still quite laborious trying to be something. And it's not that that's not who you are. It's just that my awareness of who I am is not clear. So souls don't want to have seek for outcomes, but it's as if they can't help it.
Yeah, it always depends on the method by which I am trying to achieve a certain stage, if you will, or state. And so I can have a great, intention that I want to be a good person. I don't want it to be conditional or, needy in any way. So I think that's fair. But then for the sake of the self, do I have the right method? So that I don't keep finding myself reverting to something that takes me in the direction I didn't want to go. So having to make sure I have the right method. And this, again, is, of course, open to controversy. I use the word absolute. When we say eternal, another word that's very connected to eternal is truth. So I can have a variety of different awareness. Which awareness is the true awareness? The one that doesn't change, it's not temporary. So I have the awareness, absolute. I can have the awareness I'm a mom, but there was a period of my life when I wasn't a mom.
And what happens when?
And there will be a period when I won't be a mom. Yeah. So it's an awareness, but is it eternal? Is it absolute? Is it true? Because the awareness based on truth is by far the most powerful. And one that will not become conditional or contextual.
I'm going to try to link two different questions to the version. In terms of the topic of greatness, that I have the capacity to experience greatness in the middle of ordinariness. But using the example of mother, again, what happens if a mother says, what you're telling me not to have the awareness of being a mother, then I'm going to mistreat my kids.
So we have so many examples. I think we've all witnessed it, the greatness of mothers. I'm going to give an example that I hesitate because I don't want to smear. I worship the ground that mothers walk on. I think they are by far really elevated. But I have seen a very interesting side of mothers. It can go both ways. And I remember, again, in dance, and I did go away for dance school. So I was away from where my physical mother was. I was in another city. So when I was in competitions, I would be backstage by myself. My mother could not be there. So, and I was, just a young teenager without anyone really with me. And I would be backstage with the other competitors who had their mothers with them. A backstage mother not a pleasant thing. That's all I can say. They would attack me. So we're seeing the greatness of mothers, but I certainly saw the ugliness too.
mean
And I
because
know
of
what was
focusing
like,
on
because
one
I was the
child.
competition. However, if we look at soul, you get to be a mother and all of these wonderful qualities. You get to be a mother to everyone. So it's taking, you get the best of everything. It's not that you stop being a mother. You just don't become a conditional one. You know, they could have been a mother to me too, if they were in that awareness, that spiritual awareness, a spiritual mother. So it's very, I know it's sensitive. We're not saying that there's loss in this. You stop. We are enhancing, bringing in these spiritual capacities, so we get to be, a mother to everyone. We get to be friend to everyone, so that it's not this conditional or sometimes even a curse or a burden.
Perhaps the way you illuminate, I know we're running out of time, but you illuminate what can eventually happen. We see it in job situations. Maybe we don't see it so much with mothers at that moment. But if an individual is going against their character, like mother or not, to treat someone else in a different way just because you're in that consciousness, eventually through time, I feel that there would be some sort of moral distress inside, right? And you hear that a lot in job situations. It's more obvious maybe where individuals start to feel that, they can really see that they're constantly or chronically, not behaving the way that is true to their character, but it's because of seeing certain individuals based on their roles. But it feels like just the word universal actually came to mind when you're talking, when I am really actually aware of my soul and my capacities, then it's not really for anyone per se. You are universal.
Yes, and I think your comments bring up another point again, underlining if there is that moral distress happening in different scenarios. So again, it's suggesting there is this inner knowing inside of each of us, this inner greatness, this memory or this awareness of our capacity as a spiritual being is in there. And it shapes character, of course. And when I'm going against that, we say it bites the conscience a little bit, which the conscience has a very clear idea of what our potential or capacity is. So the word honor comes up as well, which is very connected to the word greatness. To be able to honor the potential or capacity of the self. This is an act of greatness, actually. And it's also, of course, a source of happiness. It's connected to one's happiness as well. So I don't have that moral distress sort of dilemma going on inside. So again, there is a knowing inside, and to be able to honor that knowing of my potential, my capacity. And it does cause us distress when we don't. And then we sort of come into that ordinariness. We kind of give up on ourselves. So we just need the right method to be able to be loyal or to honor the potential of the self.
Well, sometimes I always find we get on a roll near the end of these sessions, and then time has run out. And so I believe we'll close with the reflection now.
I am seated here in a very royal way, as I would if I was to meet someone great, very important. The internal excitement, enthusiasm, anticipation. I'm about to meet someone great. And I am myself. As I go through the day, I lose myself in different roles, responsibilities, activities, and sometimes regrets, mistakes, disheartenment. Slowly, moment by moment, I lose myself, forget myself. But in these quiet moments, my single intention is to remember the self, return to myself. I, the soul, have been compared to a diamond, a beautiful jewel of life and light. So many wonderful capacities or facets within the self that you can't find anywhere out there, not even in the body. I can move the body, have it drive and walk and iron and cook, but the quality of that movement is in my hands. Do I drive respectfully? Do I walk on this earth peacefully? Do I cook with care? Do I iron patiently? This beautiful addition of qualities to life that bring quality of life, that's in my hands, the living diamond that is me. I can add so much quality to my own life the more I remember myself. And that adds quality to the lives of others as well, playing the role of greatness. Om Shanti.
Shanti. Thank you for those who are joining us this evening. If any of these discussions have provoked any thoughts, questions, or topics to explore in the future, you're welcome to always type in the chat box, both on YouTube as well as Instagram. You're welcome to email the center as well. So Judy is lucky because I don't have to ask you what upcoming sessions there are, because I suppose I can share that now. But we do have 2 new sessions that will be starting. One of them starts tomorrow, but these are 2 4-part sessions. And so the one that's happening tomorrow, and this is Mountain, what will be Standard Time? Mountain Standard Time at 8:00 p.m. to 8:30. So 30-minute 4-part session, Meditation 101, which is meditation myth busting. So it'd be very helpful for those who find they're quite challenged with what exactly is meditation. And the next session is called Praise of Shiva. I think originally it was called Praise of God, which actually starts on Friday, again, 4-part session, 8 p.m. to 8:30. And again, Mountain Standard Time. And it's in light of the Hindu festival that's coming up at the beginning of March, which is Shivratri. And so that's really about experiencing these different qualities of God. So again, those will be available on the YouTube channel live streamed. So you're also welcome to visit the website for other upcoming sessions as well. And just one more reminder as well, we have the Raja Yoga full course in Hindi that's starting this weekend. So you'll be able to find all of that on our website. So thank you for joining. Anything else we're missing? Nothing. All right. Good.